Jamaican senators sworn into the Senate or upper house on the recommendation of the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. We are joined now by two of the new senators, Senator Dr. Maziki Thame, PMP Senator and political scientist, and Senator Christian Tavares Finson, JLP Senator and attorney at law. Good morning to you both.
Morning to you both.
How that feel when I say it?
Senators.
Dr. Vaz, how that sound? You still?
It's sobering, you know, it's a lot of responsibility. So outside of the excitement of being outside Parliament, it certainly, I treat it as something very serious. And I have to do a lot of work internally to come to terms with the work in front of me.
Yeah.
So it's not all excitement.
Yes. What about you, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. I echo those sentiments. I think, you know, for me, it's all about service. It's all about giving back to my country. You know, it just so happens at this time, this is the way in which I've been called upon to serve by the Prime Minister, and I thank him for that. You know, he saw it fit to appoint me to the Senate, and I treat that very seriously. And I expect that Jamaica will hold not only myself, but the government to account, you know, in terms of what we will do for the country. So.
Yeah.
Doc, let's start with you. You're new to most folks. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, well, I'm a lecturer in political science. I've worked in the university system, I would say for the majority of my adult life, but prior to that, when I just left university, I worked in the Foreign Service and then in community development. I worked at the SDC, I worked in inner city communities. And then I decided to go back to university, complete my PhD, and I've been teaching at UA, and then I went abroad for 3 years, worked in a HBCU. And
where were you?
Clark Atlanta University. Okay. And then I returned, and now I am here.
Far, we're coming from too far. So for you.
My background?
Yes.
Well, once I qualified in the UK as an attorney at law, I came back to Jamaica. I did my conversion course at law school here, got called to the bar here and entered into practice. And I've been practicing as an attorney at law ever since. As soon as I really recognized that I had the time and the opportunity to serve in politics, I went down that road, and here we are.
Here we are.
For folks who don't understand and hear senator, sometimes conflate with politician, right? There's a deliberate delineation, is there not? And for those who don't understand the role, help us to understand what it is that the senator actually does, Dr. Thame.
So senators in other jurisdictions are actually elected politicians. In our situation, it is an appointed position. The Senate is the upper house of Parliament. We debate bills. We can propose bills as well. And so we are doing similar work, but there is a way that the Senate is considered, you know, the sort of intellectual side of the House of Representatives. You are, in a sense, a politician, even though you are not elected. You are representing a political party, even though the Senate has space for independence. And certainly there is some expectation when it comes to debates that you are able to consider multiple sides of the issues that you are dealing with. And in that sense, you know, you are sometimes also voting on conscience, right? That is a possibility in the House.
Right.
But you are representing your party as well.
Yeah.
And we are appointed by our respective party leaders.
It's a lot of work. I don't think people know. Because there's so many things to read.
Yes.
There's so many bills to pass. Like to pass a bill requires a lot of thought, a lot of energy. Do you think most people understand, Christian, the importance of the Senate in Jamaican governance?
I think that people recognize that government is there to work for them and on their behalf. Whether they recognize how much work it actually is, I'm not sure. You know, I was just watching a debate on the salaries of the various members of government and so on. I won't get into that, but I think there is a bit of a disconnect at this time. We see it in the voter turnout. We definitely saw it over the last election, or last two elections, really, in terms of voter apathy. But I know for our part, we really are looking at engaging young people, engaging the next generation, explaining to them the importance of government. We did hear over the period of the campaign leading up to the last election that people felt sort of disenfranchised. They felt like politics does not affect them. It does not affect their lives. We wonder why that is so, and therefore what can we do more from an upstream solution as opposed to reactionary, but upstream solution as to how it is that we can get people to be more engaged in the process and therefore to hold the government accountable in the long run. So, we are excited to get to work. We do have our orientation coming up and so on. Sounds like school, but
yes.
We're always happy to learn.
Yes.
We're always happy to learn. Never shy away from learning, of course, and ready to get down to the business of the people of Jamaica.
Dr. Tim, what do you want to see happen in this body that you now sit within?
Going back to the last question about the work of the House, I think that the public perception of the work also has to do with, when information comes out around absences of parliamentarians, and there's tremendous absence. And in that sense, in holding our government accountable, we have to, in the first place, show up, right? And certainly I have a commitment to be there. We also work on committees.
Wait, to hold her to that, and ensure that she's at every sitting of the Senate.
Life also happens, but certainly, and you can be excused, but certainly you should be there the majority of the time.
Absolutely.
And also, the standards for public officials is different than private workers. So when you're considering things like salaries, you have to consider also that we're thinking about the use of public resources in a poor country, right? So I would want our government, and this is not specific to my tenure in the Senate, but I would want our government always to be working in that vein that we are representing a majority who are poor, and that our work, therefore, has to pay attention to what their issues are all the time. Certainly, their interests that are competing when it comes to politics. And the question is always on at the forefront, or at least for me, whose interest is being served in any issue that is being considered before us. And hopefully, the majority wins.
I want to take frame of reference as my next question to both of you. Chris, I'm going to start with you. Dad, as president of the Senate and a history in politics, how do you think that shapes your frame of reference heading into Senate?
I know you were going to go there.
Yes, I had to.
You had to, didn't you? I think for me, I don't shy away from experience. I think there are several members of the Senate who are returning, both on the PNP side and the government side, who do have a lot to share with the new senators, albeit that I'm one of the younger senators. For me, my family has been involved in politics for many years, and I think I view that more as service to Jamaica, and therefore I take my call to service very seriously. I think that it is exciting. I think Jamaica is heading in the right direction at this time. It's not perfect. We understand that. No organization is. And if we look at it as frankly as we should, we know that there is work to be done. I think there's a lot of talent in the Senate now, and I look forward to robust conversations around the legislation that we're discussing. and therefore engage and open that conversation to the wider public so they can participate and they can feel included in what the government is actually doing, the changes that the government is trying to make from a legislative perspective. They can feel like they are involved, and hopefully that will reflect at the polls as it did the last time.
Election. Doc, I want to hear from you as someone who's coming from a political science frame of reference.
Remind me of the question.
I was saying, so his frame of reference, I was asking in terms of the legacy of politics, yours from a political academic.
So my interest in politics is not just as a student. My parents also have a history in politics. In the 1970s, they would have been involved in the Workers' Party of Jamaica, actually. Okay. And we grew up with a sense of, justice as being at the forefront of one's political engagement. And I think about politics at the level of the interpersonal as well, right? So that I am more concerned with issues like the structure of our society and whether or not politics serves to create a more equal society. And, well, I'm on the PNP side, so I wouldn't necessarily agree that we're going in the right direction. I have concerns about the state of democracy, which include political apathy and the fact that people believe that politics does not serve the nation or them, and therefore they stay out of it. I have concerns about, the constitutional reform process and whether it will lead to deepening of democracy or the concentration of power in the executive, for instance. And I think these things are going to come out in the debates that emerge in the Senate. But certainly also as a political science lecturer, researcher, I continue to be a student of politics, and I'm observing and learning, and I'm going to write about it.
Of course you are. We know you are.
I love it. I love
Legacy
it.
on both sides.
I love it. I've said I think we have some of the brightest minds in our parliament and our Senate, and I am very excited about the level of debate that will come from it.
It sounds like it could have started this morning, right?
Yes.
Right now.
So good to have you both. Yes. Awesome.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Senator Dr. Maziki Thame, PNP Senator and political scientist, and Senator Christian Tavares Finson, JLP Senator and attorney at law.
All right.